you like the concept of Masonic history, preserving it, sharing it? What about traveling to other lodges, meeting brothers from different parts of your state, different parts of the country, different parts of the world? Do you like the Winding Stairs podcast? Well, we're going to mix all those into one this evening because we're showing the second part of a really cool thing that we did. We did a joint episode with Juan Sepulveda over at the Winding Stairs where we discussed Masonic history, historians and lodges, preserving it. We aired that on the Winding Stairs. The second part of that, where we talk more about the traveling aspect, we're going to be covering here tonight. So we have an excellent show lined up for you right after this, right here on Historical Light.
Welcome back to the Historical Light Masonic Podcast, dedicated to illuminating our past and bringing our Masonic history to light since 2016. And now, enjoy the show.
Good evening and welcome back. Thank you for watching Historical Light. This is a Masonic history show focused on the historical events and aspects within Freemasonry. I'm your host, Brother Alex Powers. I want to thank you all for joining us again. We have brothers joining in over on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. If you're on TikTok, we are streaming there now as well. So thank you all for joining in, especially the Staley family. I know you guys are watching on your TV screen in your living room. That is fantastic. Really, really appreciate the support you guys give. So you guys heard in the intro, we did something really cool that we have not done on Historical Light before, and that's a joint episode with another amazing Masonic podcast. Brother Juan Sepulveda over at the Winding Stairs has been at Masonic podcasting for a long time, and he's taken on many different efforts. And recently we had the opportunity to do a joint show with him. So we went on, did one very long episode, and we split it in two. Half of that episode already aired, and hopefully you guys saw it over on the Winding Stairs podcast. If you didn't see it or hear it, however you listen or watch to your podcasts, go and check that out. It's really, really great. So we got talking on all kinds of stuff. We both have a really deep passion and enjoyment for Masonic history. And so we got talking about lodge history, Masonic history in general, preserving that history, and how lodges can take action to do just that and make sure that we're covering those bases for years to come. Then that conversation morphed into the aspect of Masonic traveling. And that's where Brother Juan has a lot of experience and insight through the different aspects he's done through his show and different efforts. He's done a lot of traveling and really, really enjoys that. And we're showing that here tonight. But before we get to that, we do have a few things to go over. First and foremost, as always, we want to send a huge thank you to our current Patreon supporters. And we want to give you the opportunity as well to join the Historical Light family. You can support what we do here by going to our website over historicallight.com/support and clicking on our Patreon button. And yes, you can support us on Patreon through PayPal. So we've been around since 2016, solely devoted to Masonic history and everything that goes with that. Really history nerds over here. We want to keep going. We've really, really enjoyed the process so far, and you guys make this possible. So thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. And if you want to join the mission over here, we invite you to do that over at the website, historicallight.com/support. We also want to tell you about MasonicCon Kansas, which is coming up this month, so soon. August 27th, going to be in Prairie Village, which is in the KC Metro, Kansas City, on the Kansas side. If you guys haven't heard about this yet, I'd highly, highly encourage you to go check it out, MasonicConKansas.com. We're pretty much down to virtual tickets only, but one heck of a steal. You can get 8 lectures, 2 panel discussions, and all kinds of other goodies and fellowship and everything that comes along with it for $15. So it's going to be a jam-packed day full of Masonic education from some really, really phenomenal lectures. You can find about who those lectures are and those topics by going and visiting the website, and grab a ticket while you're over there. We've only got one more show in which that we're going to promote MasonicCon Kansas, because this thing is in 3 weeks, like right around the corner. I'm stoked. I'm nervous, but so excited for it. And I hope either virtually or in person, I see you guys there. All right. So tonight, guys, we are, like I said, going to be airing the second half of the joint podcast that we did with Juan Sepulveda over at the Winding Stairs. And before we get into that, I just want to acknowledge we got some brothers on the Facebook side dropping some notes. Love when you guys do that. Definitely hit us in the comments. Remember, after we do the recorded section of the podcast with Juan, we're still going to be coming back on to do our live toast at 9 p.m. So I hope you guys will join us there and let us know in the comments just what you're going to be toasting with this evening. And with that, guys, I think we will jump over and start the show. Give us 1 second. So I know we've talked about, you going down there to Key West and traveling, and I've seen this trend with you on social media and you and your show. Traveling's big to you. Now
it is.
How did that really like spark into your Masonic journey? Why did travel outside of your own lodge become such an importance to you?
There are two main things here in my jurisdiction. In the 16th Masonic District of the state of Florida, brothers constantly talk about the importance of travel. And
Sure.
and I wish I remember the name of the brother. There seems to be history from a well-loved brother who used to always say, remember, brothers, travel, travel, travel. So his words keep on being repeated by countless leaders in Masonry here in my community. And obviously they're talking about travel, travel, travel within your jurisdiction. But as Master Masons, we're entitled to all the privileges that a Master Mason can receive, among them the ability to travel and sit in lodge with other people. So
Yeah,
our jurisdiction is the world. We are part of a fraternity that goes around the world. So everywhere you go, you can find a lodge. And if you take the necessary steps, you can actually get and really connect with the brothers of those lodges. So that's the first reason why I got into traveling. The second component is I really love meeting brothers. I love being able to see different lodges, get to learn about them. I'm fascinated whenever I hit it with a brother that is super in love with his lodge, and he's like, come over here, let me take you to this this back room that people don't never go. Check this out. Look what we found up here. It's like, oh my God. If you've seen on TikTok, there's a famous TikToker, a brother I love. He goes by Viking Mason.
okay.
Brother Tessier. He is the senior warden of Orange Lodge number 36, which is it's a moon lodge that meets near the full moon. It's the only moon lodge here in Florida. When I went to visit them a couple of months ago, he's like, come over here, you got to see this. And he took me to the side into a cabinet where they had the original trumpet or the original horn that they would blast from the balcony of that lodge to call the brothers up to the meeting.
That's cool.
And I got a chance to not play that one. I tried. I did a fair attempt at playing the one that's in use today. So they replaced that original one. Now it's encased. You can't touch it or anything. But there's one that they use now. And part of their opening, they have a brother, well, normally is the senior deacon, who gives 3 blasts of the horn to summon the brothers into the lodge. And he exits that. I know. It's like he exits the lodge room and hits, blast 3 whatever you call that, does 3 blasts of the horn, and then the brothers know to come in. Well, the historical side of that is that this being a lunar lodge or a moon lodge, it was scheduled that the meetings would happen on, I want to say it's the Tuesday closest to the full moon.
Sure.
Without going over. And what brothers would do from wherever they traveled to go to this lodge, they would come a couple of days before and they will camp around the lodge. So that trumpet, was what
was
would
the real
tell
deal.
them, yeah, it's like, come on over. The meeting is happening. So being able to engage in those kinds of experiences, that to me is fascinating. And being able to share some of those experiences with the brothers through the different channels that I have, whether it be social media or the podcast or YouTube, getting the brothers excited to actually get back to lodge and spend time with the brothers person to person.
You know, it's really kind of beautiful to think about, because we think about where Masonry essentially came from, right? With our operative stonemason workers. And those guys traveled. They had to. They went from job site to job site. And it's one of those things, like when we work with people, we learn from people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter what you're in, you'll pick up, oh, well, this guy found a really good way to do that, or this guy has a really good way to do this. And you pick that up, and then that's going to kind of be ingrained in you moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing that into the Masonic experience, being able to connect with more brothers than just your own lodge, you're going to pick up those different opinions, but also those different traditions, like what you were able to see there that I've never heard of before. But how beautiful is that? And then experiencing those little bits of uniqueness from lodge to lodge, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it connects you to people in a way that it's very unique. And we're fortunate that we are here healthy and thriving at the end of a global pandemic, right?
100%. Yeah.
I went into complete separation from humanity. Like when this thing happened, I have older family members that are immunocompromised. I wanted to make sure that we didn't get sick, that we didn't get them sick. Even through all that, we did lose some family members to it. But
so sorry to hear that.
Thank you, brother. But having that separation from lodge and that engagement from lodge, I missed that tremendously.
Yeah.
So coming out of that, as soon as I felt comfortable enough and I had enough, what do you call that? Enough synthetic immunity in my veins. Let's go. Where are we going?
Right.
So I was ready. I was ready to hit the road.
Yeah. That was an impactful time. And as much as we look back, and we're talking about history, as much as we look back at those parts and, of Masonry in the world and how the world impacted Masonry impacted the world, those brothers after us, this is one of those things we're going to look back and exactly. See this time through the pandemic. And, where I'm at here, it was hit and miss. Like we'd see really bad spots, and then it would seem like, oh, it's all better. And then no, it sucks again. And it was that really weird time. It didn't fully hit me until the Grand Lodge session with a necrology report, and they just let those names run. Oof. And at first I thought it was on repeat. And then it hit me after this thing's been running for 10 minutes straight that these are all unique names. And it really hit me of, wow, how bad this thing really was.
Wow. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I lost brothers that I knew and loved,
right? And
otherwise healthy brothers, just gone, boom. And so I was nervous. And we not only do we have a lot to learn today, but like you said, brothers from the future, they're going to look at our minutes and they're going to see how, they met at this time and this brother died 2 months later.
Sure.
And he attended these meetings and these other meetings. So you may be able to connect the dots and see that, this was not something to dismiss as some people did. But I feel very grateful that we are healthy. We are able to travel a little bit more again.
Yeah.
Now I'm super excited to start getting back to travel and speak at different lodges. If you remember back in 2019, I was going to many of the Masonic conferences. I was traveling, recording documentaries. I was very, very busy. And then 2020 came. It's like, boop,
done.
Yep. You staying home, buddy.
So now I'm curious with different areas throughout the United States and world, honestly, at this point, the pandemic has kind of translated differently and responded to people differently. In your area with the pandemic in mind and travel, where are things at there? Because I know up here we still have brothers to this day that are just nervous to come back to lodge. So how's travel in your area?
It's picked up significantly. Travel here in Central Florida, at the very least, it has picked up significantly. Brothers are very conscientious. You can see them washing their hands often, excuse me, sanitation stations and the whole deal. There are moments where, a brother or two may put a mask on, but this is Florida. Like, there was hardly any mask here to begin with, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
So, but you do see that people are more conscious about, okay, well, how we used to do things, it has to be a little bit different. Let's make sure that we're being careful about things. And again, we lost brothers, close brothers that were otherwise healthy. So that was an awakening for many people. It's like, okay, let's take it a little easier here.
Oh, definitely. I'm sitting here thinking about just how beautiful my experiences traveling have been and kind of some of the impacts from that. And I know you've had the opportunity to do quite a bit of traveling around, like you said, to conferences, working on your videos, all these different things. One of the beautiful aspects that I've always just adored about Masonry, you find aspects of it in other things in life, but I would challenge that you don't find it quite as much in Masonry, that no matter where you go, you have that instant bond, instant friendship, instant trust with guys just to a different level. How has that impacted in your travels? Like, how has that impacted you just going somewhere and just instantly having that connection with these guys?
It is the absolute best. It's the absolute best thing. I have met brothers that I've only seen them virtually. I've seen them like you and I have not seen each other in person, I don't think, right?
No, sadly not. We're talking about my father-in-law, Angelo. The year that you made it to MasoniCon up there in Attleboro was right at that time. Like, he passed away right in those days.
I do remember.
So I had ticket and everything to get up there, and I ended up having to cancel, but almost. We'll definitely meet up at some point.
Oh, for sure. It's a matter of time. But even with my connection with the brothers from the Masonic Roundtable, we did the Masonic Roundtable for quite a bit of time before we had all met in person. And whenever you meet a brother like that, there's a connection that precedes the physical meeting. As a matter of fact, when we went over to Pennsylvania, we spoke at the Academy of Masonic Knowledge, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what it's called.
I remember that.
In Pennsylvania. And we met some brothers there that we have known for years virtually. And then we finally got to meet, and it was as if we knew each other forever,
Yeah.
On the other hand, there are places that I've been that I don't know anybody, and you just get an opportunity to connect from the beginning. And the Key West visit is a perfect example. I knock on the door, they look at me and, hey, how you doing? I identify myself. I come in peace. I told them that I was a brother from Orange Blossom Lodge number 80 and that I was there on vacation, showed them dues cards, the whole deal. And from that moment on, it was like we were all friends.
Yeah, just different dynamic.
It was incredible. By the time the night ended, everybody has each other's phone number. We're connected on all social media. We're already making plans to see each other. So it was it's fantastic. I think it's one of the biggest perks
Yeah.
of being in this fraternity.
It's a beautiful thing, and just that aspect that anywhere you go, you have someone you could trust that would be there for you. Like
Mhm.
I've been in situations where I've just shot a message out saying, hey, need this, and a brother never met before, cool, where you at? And where do you find that?
Incredible.
It's just a beautiful relationship that it's hard to go without, man.
It's amazing. And I wanted to elaborate also on the trust component, because
Sure. Yeah.
in 2019, I went over to give a presentation. It was a few of us from the Masonic Roundtable. It was maybe three, or I think it was three of us, if I'm not mistaken. We went over to Hillsborough Lodge in Tampa, Florida. And it was the inaugural Southern Masonic Con type kind of deal from the Southeast. Anyway.
Okay.
I went over there, and it's a gigantic building. It's big. It's beautiful. It's majestic. And, as you know, I have Masonic art, and I have Masonic aprons, and I have pins, things that I sell through my store. So I'm there by myself. I don't have someone that can be on the table and, make transactions whenever someone's interested in a pin or a sticker or whatever. I'm
Definitely.
going out, I'm speaking, I'm connecting with brothers, I'm doing things. So I had a little box, and I took a picture of it because it was a beautiful memory of this whole topic. I put how much the shirts were worth, how much the art was worth, how much the pins were worth, and I put a $20 bill in front of it. And I just set it on a table on a corner. And that was it. I didn't do any kind of transactions where, people give me money, I give them whatever. No. It's like, we're all brothers.
Yeah.
You want something, go grab it. Just leave me whatever is fair there.
Right.
And we're good. Where else can you do that? Maybe church.
I've experienced that too at a Grand Lodge annual session. I can't remember exactly why, but I didn't have my wallet on me, and I thought I did. And I'd gone over to one of the vendors there, and I don't know if it was a pen or book or something that I would bought, but I got up there and I go to reach my wallet, and I'm like, oh crap. And I go to put it back, and I say, I'll come back later. He goes, I'll just take it.
Yep.
You're good for it. You'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay. It's that weird moment, but this guy's never seen me before. He's probably not going to be able to remember my face, and I could easily just not come back.
Exactly.
But he knows I'm a brother, and I know he's a brother. I'm not going to wrong him. And so it's a beautiful thing for sure.
Could you imagine if that was possible everywhere? Like if
that's
people,
the hope, right?
There's a part of me that feels like, oh man, that would be amazing. And there's another part of me that smacks me behind the head and said, are you crazy? That's not going to happen. But we're fortunate that we can say that we've experienced that.
And the reality is, not even 100% in Masonry is that there. Like we've all experienced that there's times and places, because what are Masons? Humans.
Of course.
And there's always going to be those situations or those bad apples that just remind us that we need to go through those checks and balances more.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Masonry is that example to society. We can, it's possible to get there with obviously the work put in. But
you make a great point. It's like, we're humans, we're brothers, but we're people. And one thing that I was thinking about this the other day. I know we say in Puerto Rico, we say, I'm not a piece of bread, meaning
okay,
not everybody is going to like me, because everybody loves bread, right? Like, I'm not a piece of bread. And the point here is, I'm going to say things that are going to ruffle some brothers' feathers.
Sure.
I'm going to act in a way that maybe one day a brother gets upset at me, or maybe I don't engage with someone who's really expecting me to engage. Something is going to happen that I'm going to rub someone the wrong way. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that I am a bad person. It doesn't mean that we need to be enemies. We're just people.
Right.
And one thing that I've been working really hard at is to make sure that I am reminding myself, hey, this person may not mean anything by that. How many times have you written something to someone and you're like, you write something with the best of intentions, and the response from the person is as if you had attacked them. And you understand, it's like, oh, that's not how I meant it. I was just in a rush and I just wrote it real quick, but that's not at all how I meant it. So giving brothers that benefit of the doubt, which is another reason why meeting in person is so important, because you can see a person's face when they're talking to you. You can see their expressions. You can pick up on their body language. You can tell, oh, he didn't mean anything by it.
Right.
Or he may be a grumpy person. And that's perfectly fine.
We have a few of those.
I've heard it's a myth. But it's like, if you know this person is a grump, you can still love them. Expect them to be a grump at some times. Don't take it personal. Move on. Obviously, don't let people walk all over you and disrespect you.
Correct.
But it's your brother. Maybe he's a little grumpy. Then you know what to expect. But you can still love each other. You can still create amazing memories, and you can still work together to make our society a better place.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. I think oftentimes, because of that beauty that exists in Masonry, brothers sometimes will take that for granted and just expect that to be realistically all there is. And that's not reality. But also, like, we don't have to 100% be butterflies and rainbows to still be brothers.
Of course.
We can argue and still be brothers, and that's that bringing it back, that on the level factor. As long as that's applied, there can be value there. I'm thinking, tying this into the travel aspect, and obviously we talk with so many people today, and it's that double-edged sword, because brothers in the past didn't have the opportunities of connection, besides hopping on these trains and going forever. We're able to do this virtual travel, like you and me here today. We're half of a country apart. We're able to virtually come together in this modern form of travel, which is amazing. But like you mentioned, there's aspects of that virtual travel that may not be this personal conversation. It's behind a keyboard, and aspects of that are really hard to or they easily get lost, I guess you could say, in those dynamics. One thing I've done in those situations to make an effort to bring that connection closer, just as close as it can be, is when I see a conversation going sideways and I can tell, like, oh, we're just not going to see eye to eye here, or he's taking me completely wrong. I think maybe I'm taking him wrong. I'll send that brother my phone number and be like, hey man, I don't think this is going right. Why don't you give me a call and let's hash this out? Because continuing to just it's just going to go down a rabbit hole, and so, it's probably never needed to go there in the first place. And I've never gotten off of one of those calls, because I've had 2 or 3 of those. Like, hey, why don't you just give me a quick call, or can I give you a quick call? Within 5 minutes, we're laughing and it's all good, brother. And it's typically just a stupid understanding, but it makes you think that component of travel, that coming together as close as you can, the importance of that.
It's true. I've been in a few of those phone calls, and I've been in some heated phone calls with brothers. Sure. But it gets resolved. And then later on, we meet somewhere and we hug each other and we hang out and we're cool again. And we need to be able to get upset with people without hating them forever.
Right.
It's part of it. There's no way that, who was it? A brother recently just told me, it's like, just consider the different kinds of people in this world, the number of people that are in this world. if you're expecting to hit 100% on all cylinders at every category with another person, you're fooling yourself. And
Oh yeah.
it's the absolute truth. Someone's going to say something, or someone's going to do something that you're not going to like it, or you're going to feel uncomfortable. But we have that benefit of being able to say, hey, listen, brother, we need to sort this out. We need to resolve this. Hey, let's sit down and talk. And I know I can be difficult sometimes. So I try to.
Not me.
And yeah. let me ask that lady.
Yeah,
to help you with the book.
Don't ask her. Anyone but her. No, that's a huge component though, and what's one of the things that we're taught to do in our Masonic way is whisper wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't want to hear that wise counsel. It's
Correct.
hard to hear. And what do brothers do? Brothers argue, brothers fight a little bit, but we're all on this path of growing. And I think if we can come to that realization that, it's okay to go through those little, bickering arguments, those debates sometimes, but end it as brothers,
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. End it. That's a great way to point it. End it as brothers. And you can take some time. It's like, hey, listen, I'm tired right now. I'm hungry. I don't think I'm being rational right now. Let's keep on this conversation tomorrow. And then tomorrow, after you have your coffee, you had your relaxed nap or whatever, then you speak, and it's like, listen, yeah, I was not in a good place to have that conversation. I'm glad we stopped it.
Dang it, I don't want to, but I have to admit, I see it your way.
Damn it. I know the feeling.
So I'm curious, Juan, we've talked about travels and how much that is important to you, how it's impacted your career. And now we're coming out of this pandemic. You had so much going on there. What is your plans going forward involving travel?
Yeah, I'm keeping my options open. I will be traveling. I already have a few dates booked this year. 2020, nice. I was booked every month. I had something in a different state to do. Yeah. And, maybe 10 months out of the 12. And obviously that went out the window whenever this whole thing happened. But I'm opening, I'm very open to travel. I'm excited. I'm looking forward. I know I'm going to be in Illinois in November. There are talks. There are a couple things that are happening, of course, and there are some events that are major events that it would make sense for me to go to them. But I'm pacing myself. I'm keeping my travel local for now, and whenever opportunities arise, I'll go to different places. But it benefits me as an individual to travel. And I feel that there are things that I can bring and contribute to brothers in my presentation. So I look forward to doing that a little bit more as we move forward. Hopefully we don't have eternal waves of this variations of, what is it? Omicron and Opticron and Decepticon and all the other ones.
Just start naming it after the month because it'll continue to change.
Yeah.
It's August Cron.
Monkeypox.
Yeah, right. It's always something.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned earlier on TikTok, and that is something that we've both bridged. You've been going nuts on it, which is amazing to see.
Thank you.
TikTok is interesting. It's come such a long way. I've jumped on there. I've experimented with it, but I've noticed it's brought together this side community of Masons that I don't know were really connected before in the way that they are now. And one of the cool things that really ties in here is I've seen a lot of that core group of Masons represented on TikTok are really getting huge into traveling. And you start seeing them travel to see each other and, traveling around their state to show stuff off. And, just that factor of travel is really getting shown on the TikTok atmosphere there. And I think that's really, really cool.
It is actually, brother Jim Dens is going to be in my lodge on Monday. So he's one of those TikTokers. When I went over to Orange Lodge, that brother Viking Mason, he was there. So I've gotten to connect with a few of these brothers. I'm going to have one of these brothers in the show as well, because that's another opportunity to connect with some of these TikTokers. And it's interesting because I remember us at the Masonic Roundtable talking about TikTok. And I was one of the ones that was like, no way, dude. Like, what am I going to do on TikTok? Forget about it. It's like, you do it if you want to do it. It's like, I just don't see it happening. It's like, and it was because anytime I got on TikTok, all I would see was like people doing pranks in public or doing dance routines. And like, I can dance though. I'm Puerto Rican.
Can you?
Are you kidding me? Puerto Rican, bro.
I'm gonna need to surf through your TikTok a little more. I better see some of these dances on.
No, but my point is, like, I'm not gonna dance on TikTok. That's not my angle.
I demand a Juan dancing channel.
That's gonna be on our Patreon subscriber only feed.
The exclusive tier, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how, you know, Masonry continues to evolve in those different methods. It's kind of beautiful, you know. Me getting on TikTok was not foreseen, as in pretty much anything in my Masonic journey has just kind of appeared, you know. But I had that skewed view of TikTok because I've got daughters. I've got a 13-year-old and a almost 17-year-old.
Wow.
So seeing them on there, it's like, to me, that's it's this app these little girls are on, whatever. But it's morphed into this much bigger thing.
Yeah. I
got tossed into it because another Kansas brother who followed me and what I do on Facebook and stuff just ended up tagging me on there. And I had created 2 accounts. I think I had like my personal account, just whatever, to like surf, and I'd had a historical light account. Well, he tagged my personal account, and like overnight I had all these followers and they're demanding stuff from me. So I'm like, well, I guess we're using this account now. So but it's that interesting dynamic because at first I tried to like build them all out like you do on Facebook, you know, got an account for Lodge of Research, Historical Light, and it's like, oh, this is just way too much to keep up with. This is an entirely different algorithm that I just took everything to one account. I just kind of blast all my different venues off of one account and whatever.
That works.
I'm that old guy now.
No, that works. There's a part of me that feels, I've always felt like that. It's like, I don't want to do all these separate efforts. I want to be able to consolidate everything into one thing.
Sure.
But from a business standpoint and from it just doesn't really make sense for me. But just like you, I have my artist account. I have the Gentleman's Brotherhood account. I have the Winding Stairs. So, and I try to keep everything separate, which I just recently found out that you have to be careful whenever you're in your Masonic account, interact with Masonic stuff, because then you're confusing the algorithm. We'll talk offline about that.
Yeah, it's for a marketing guy, it's a doozy.
Yeah, it's hard. It's
one more algorithm to understand.
I had tried TikTok before getting really into it. I had tried it at least twice before and thought, like, I threw my hands up, like, no, I can't do this. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And then when it finally started clicking, it's like, oh, wait a second. I like this. And then the rest is
and now everybody's on it, whether they admit to it or not. They're scrolling for hours.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes you wonder, like we bridge that gap a little bit there with this age of virtual travel in a sense. It makes you wonder what travel is going to continue to look like in that scenario as we get more and more digital. And now we're entering this age of meta, and just the unthinkable possibilities there. You know, we've bridged that slightly with Kansas Lodge Research, and we've started as part of our history archival side, not just archiving those documents, but we've taken these VR cameras and going through and doing virtual tours, like real estate style, of these lodges, and then put that into like an Oculus, and it's kind of trippy. Like, I mean, you're there. It's weird.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it makes you wonder, because the Oculus and the other various VR platforms now have these like community-based atmospheres, and that could take an instance of travel to a whole new place really, really rapidly here.
Yep. I have a presentation that I give related to the practical application of Masonry. And in it, I go through a very visual presentation of the Freemason from 100 years ago, the Freemason of today, and the Freemason of 100 years from now. So I take people in this time journey to experience the practical application of the lessons of Masonry to their lives. And in it, I talk about that specifically. The tools that this man 100 years ago had were very limited, rudimentary, wouldn't allow him to do much. So he had to rely on just physical travel, hand kind of work. And you see the evolution today, how now we have all these alternatives. And granted, after the separation of 2020 through 22, people became hungry for connectivity at a lower risk. So it kickstart the development or the acceptance or the assimilation of virtual reality and metaverses and virtual. Look at Zoom. It used to be that you would talk about, Teams or Zoom, and then now you got Teams, you got Zoom, you got this, you got the other, and people, everybody has a Zoom account. But I think there's always going to be the thread of the importance of coming together in person, being able to listen to someone's voice, see their eyes, and all that kind of stuff. But we have to be open to engage in all these different platforms, all these different technologies, because, otherwise we're stagnant and people are going to pass us
100%. I mean, it definitely has that beautiful aspect that is hard to go without, in the sense of, like, you and I, we haven't had the opportunity just yet to meet, but it would be a damn shame if I wasn't able to have these conversations with you. I've grown as a Mason from knowing you, and I've had those experiences with all these other brothers as well, that, that is a hugely valuable part of my Masonic journey. But I definitely do hope, those paths cross one day and we're able to physically shake hands, break bread with one another. So it's variable levels of travel, but yeah, definitely in person is always the most beautiful.
For sure. I want to come see those chickens that you introduced me to a couple of years ago.
Oh my God. I forgot about that. Yes. The in-house barnyard during meditation. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Who else can say that? Huh?
Yeah.
That's unique stuff, brother. Hey, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you traveling with me. Virtually. We traveled in time, talked about the history, preservation, the sharing on it, and all that kind of stuff. And we talked about traveling in the physical by going places and stuff. I think it's been a very well-rounded conversation.
Extremely edifying. It's always a pleasure to be able to have the time to sit down and have one of those conversations with you, my brother.
Absolutely.
Well, Brother Juan, it has been an excellent opportunity to be able to sit with you and just have another one of these edifying conversations. You've been extremely impactful to my career in Masonry. So to be able to bridge this gap and travel with you virtually today on these different levels has been just so amazing. And I appreciate you coming on. And thank you all for watching Historical Light. What's going on, brothers? Well, I hope you enjoyed that live episode, pre-recorded, but live here, that we did with Juan Sepulveda over at the Winding Stairs. It was a fantastic chat. I really, really enjoyed that. I don't know why we haven't done something of that nature before, but I'm realizing because we did that chat live, or I'm sorry, we did that chat basically two shows into one. I got a little confused and I totally forgot to do what we normally do at the beginning of Historical Light episodes and dig in a little deeper on our guest and interview Brother Juan to get to know his backstory and Masonry, his life, and all that. So definitely going to have to book Brother Juan to come back on Historical Light, probably on a traditional live show, and see if we can dig in and have another wonderful chat with him, because it was quite interesting. I mean, we dug into a lot of material, and I'm hoping you guys have seen the first half of that aired on the Winding Stairs earlier in the week. If you haven't, definitely go check it out and give them a like and a follow while you're there, because they definitely deserve it. They do great work. But in the first half of that, we had some really great conversation around Masonic history and lodge and the preservation of such. And one of the things I was really happy to share in that is the work that we're doing over at the Kansas Lodge of Research that has drawn a lot of attention, being that inside of our archival kits that we're sending out. So essentially, if you guys haven't heard about that, what the point of it was and what the buzz going around is, when we started the reboot for the Lodge of Research, one of the emphasis that we put out was that we wanted to archive material before we lose it. When I wrote the book for Gardner, noticed that stuff was literally just falling apart and disappearing before our eyes. And I know that's happening not just in my lodge, but all lodges around the world, all across the country, everywhere. Some are in better shape and some are in worse. So we kind of put out the direction of how to do it. But we were still getting back that, well, they didn't understand and they couldn't afford the equipment and yada, yada, yada. So we said, let's bridge that gap and we will teach you how, and we will provide you the equipment. So the Kansas Lodge of Research actually put together two kits, archival kits, that includes everything you need to be able to do this work inside your lodge. We've got the Caesar overhead book scanners, because personally, I don't like the destructive method of archival. And I know Brother Robert will say, it's not destructive. In my personal opinion, I would say it is. I like to have those original books last as long as they possibly can. And there definitely are other methods, such as, removing it from the binding and then treating the pages. Simple fact is, the majority of lodges out there don't have that in their wheelhouse or their budget. Doing the overhead scanner is a cheap and affordable and effective method to do that, and it doesn't harm that original book. And then you can air seal it and it keeps it nice. But we also include in there a bulk scanner for all those photos and loose communications. We've got film scanners, and even the computer inside to run it all. And we have these in two kits, and we send them out to lodges starting here in Kansas, free of charge. We just want you guys to have a crew together, ready to go and willing to work. We will send that kit to you. You digitize it. You get a copy of it for free. Also goes into the Kansas archive so that we have that for research capabilities. And the beautiful thing about that, we were talking in historical research, because this is where my brain goes. And I really hope we get there on not just a national, but a world level someday, is when we're scanning this stuff in, it's OCR capable, which means it's not just a picture, it's highlightable text. And if highlightable, it's also searchable. So imagine this. We put all this stuff into a database. And instead of you visiting another lodge, which is already complicated, if you want to go through their records, right, and you're trying to find maybe a great-great-grandfather, you got to schedule with that lodge, go sit down, and you're flipping pages for a maybe you find a name somewhere. What if we got all this stuff into a database and it's OCR searchable, and all I got to do is Control F and search a name? And then we get to the point that that database is integrated with all those different documents, and I can type in that one name and it's going to search all these different books. And then we know, well, that one brother at my lodge that's famous for millennia, Brother McClintock, I can search his name and say, oh, look, he's popping up at all these different lodges. And you kind of get a whole different insight and connect history that we never knew had connections in the first place. I think that would be a really, really cool place to see that head in the future, and I hope it does. And Kansas Lodge Research is definitely on the forefront to making that happen. And we've got a lot of guys reaching out to us interested in that. We're passing along the knowledge as much as we can to continue that movement on, because we can only do our state. It's hard to even get that done. So having guys like you jumping on and willing to do that work in your area is what it takes. We've got to work together as a team, and we too can save history. So we've got just a couple minutes here before we do our toast for this evening. And I'm looking over and seeing we got some comments from the show. So I want to run through and take a look here and highlight a couple of these. We've got one here from Brother Chad, and he did it over on the Facebook side, so I can't put it up on the screen here. But he said, Lodge is not a distance experience. And that's a great point. You know, especially with COVID, the access to the digital experience was wonderful for what it is, right? But in no way, shape, or form would I say it replaces or should replace that in-person bond and experience, the communal aspect. You know, it's a tool in addition, but I would hate to see a day that I never sit in lodge with a brother again. Got Brother Scott Bradson down in Texas saying, I hope to meet you guys sometime. Y'all are loved here in Texas Masonry. Well, that's fantastic, Scott, and I cannot wait to meet you as well. We've had Brother Scott on the show before. He's a phenomenal history nerd as well. Let's see here. Most worshipful, Brother Darren Kellerman, saying here, and my screen is scrolling, of course. Where'd it go? Social media is nice, but meeting in person is where it really is at. And what Freemasonry thrives on is that personal interaction. 100%. Yeah. Just like I said there, you know, some of those most impactful experiences, at least in my Masonic journey, and also those just aspects of historical research, have simply been the conversations I have sitting after lodge with a brother. And it's never like intended to go that way. It just starts hey, how's it going? And next thing you know, that conversation's going down a path, and you get one of those, well, in my day comments, and it elaborates on that. And all of a sudden you're getting this side of history within that lodge that you've never known before. That is just as valuable, 10 times more valuable most of the time than what you'll get out of, you know, minute books. They're very bland and summarized. Those personal interactions are huge. So if that's where it was back in the day, you obviously can't just replace that with a digital means. I mean, it's definitely worth its weight in gold for what it is. And as Juan said in the episode, you know, it's allowed us to take our relationships with the brothers we meet to another level in the regards of, like me and Brother Juan, we've never been able to meet in person together. But we have a personal relationship beyond the fact of maybe sending an email or writing a letter. Like, we've been able to talk in the next best way than face-to-face, virtually face-to-face. And you still get it definitely adds to that personal relationship, but it's still not the same entirely. So I fully get what Brother Kellerman there is saying, and I fully agree as well. See if we got anything else here. Brother Matt Parker on here saying, you just can't get the same rigor through meeting online. Yep, 100%. And Brother Justin Staley, can't wait for Kansas Masonicon 2022. Me either. You know, I'm nervous because I've been working on this event for a year now, and I'm sitting here trying to, you know, cross my T's, dot my I's, make sure it's all coming together. But I am stoked. Actually talked to our catering guy this morning, got that all panned away, and it is lining up to be a fantastic event. We have so many brothers traveling in, as we were talking about this evening, how amazing that travel is. And events like these have really changed the face of Masonry in a beautiful way with that aspect of travel, because there's such a large amount of guys that get into this Masonicon circuit, and they travel around to the different ones. And we've got guys coming to Kansas that have never been here before. We've got the Grandmaster of Alaska coming down. We've got brothers from all coasts coming right here to the middle of the map, including our speakers. Our speakers are from all around as well. And to be able to sit down and see these guys, especially the ones I've chatted with on Facebook for like years, it's going to be an amazing experience. I've never had the opportunity to meet these brothers before. So truly, truly looking forward to that. Brother Scott Bratson on here saying, is Kansas Masonicon available through Zoom? It is. If you head over to the website, MasoniconKansas.com, you can still get in on the virtual pass, $15. It's going to get you access to our 8 lecturers, 2 discussion panels, and you'll get access to the recordings of those as well, exclusively to attendees for the first year. And then after a year, those recordings will go public. So even if you have to step out, you need to go grab lunch, you got stuff going on the Saturday, that's perfectly fine. You will be able to catch up those missed sections or missed lectures through the recorded version. So that $15 goes a long way. And I hope you guys join in with us virtually if you can't be there in person. But I am really, really looking forward to everybody coming down here to KC and having some Masonic fun with us. Now, the one cool thing, I guess really cool thing, is the Masonicon circuit is different than what we've ever experienced in Kansas before. We do a lot of great events. The Grand Lodge is phenomenal in that way, through Leadership Academy and many other events, doing, festive boards, table lodges throughout the year. But Masonicon carries a different feel, I guess you could say. It's a little more laid back than a Grand Lodge event that you've been to. You get the mix of t-shirts, you get a few guys in full suits, even a couple guys in tuxes, all in one place. And just that, that sole focus is the education and the fellowship. And what I've been telling guys, reach out talking about dress code, is that is the focus, education and fellowship. And however you're most comfortable in engaging that is what I want you to wear. And some guys will definitely be in tuxes and other guys will definitely be in t-shirts, and that's fine. This isn't a formal event. It's purely about that education and building those bonds with one another. And I think it's going to be a beautiful time. So I definitely hope you guys will join in either in person with us or virtually. So while we're wrapping up here, I want you guys to throw in the comments, what is the best experience you've had while traveling in Freemasonry? I've had some amazing ones. Talking about Masonicon here, my first time going up to Ezekiel Bates Lodge for Masonicon in Attleboro was complete game changer for my Masonic experience. It took what I thought Masonry was and opened my eyes to a whole new level, and really relit that fire within me at the perfect time, because we all experience levels of burnout, levels of disappointment, but being able to bridge that gap really just revigorated what I was missing and put me on a path to make Masonry that much better for me. Now I look forward to those events so much. So one of the huge reasons that I am stoked to be bringing that right here to KC, to Kansas in general, for the first time. And actually, going to be toasting this evening for the first time. I figured it was close by, so why not? Going to be using the Masonicon Kansas engraved Founders Club cannon. We'll call it a cannon. It's a whiskey glass. We're definitely going to have to tell the guys at the event exactly what the 2-ounce toasts look like, because you could have some trouble filling these bad boys up. See, Brother Justin Staley says here right before we do our toast, unfortunately for me, I've only traveled to one other lodge, but did get to visit the Grand Lodge building in Colorado, which is a beautiful one. If you guys have been out there, they have some amazing artifacts that they love to show off. I was able to go out there as well with my family a few years ago. It was pre-pandemic, and man, they've got all kinds of stuff in there. One of the things I remember the most was Abraham Lincoln's personal walking cane with his initials engraved in the top. And they let me hold it. But of course, I didn't want to hold it bare hand. I was asking for gloves, and the only gloves they had in there were probably 2 sizes too small. And I'm sitting there trying to fit my fat hands in this tiny little glove to be able to just hold Abraham Lincoln's cane for a moment. But it was well worth it. If you guys get the chance to go out there, Colorado Springs, definitely hit up the Grand Secretary and go check out the building. And then right next door, they've got the huge Masonic Center with the massive Egyptian room, which is also beautiful. So 9 o'clock hour, let's go ahead and do our toast this evening. Brethren, this evening we're going to toast to Masonic travels. I hope you guys have had the chance. If you have not, I hope you get the chance, make the chance to get outside the walls of your personal lodge. Go and visit another lodge, maybe in the next city over, maybe in the next state over. Stop in, meet new brothers, experience the traveling and all the beauty that comes along with it. So with that, brothers, to traveling. Cheers. Fantastic. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us live this evening on Facebook, YouTube, and over on TikTok. Thank you guys for supporting the show. We will see you again next month on the first Friday. Until then, hope you guys get some traveling in, but stay well and keep illuminating our past. Take care, everybody.